the first live broadcast supporting of Brandon Hardwire. We're in Knoxville, Tennessee at the Beef Improvement Federation Convention. It is the first recording we have of this, and so welcome everyone to a live recording of Brands and Hardwire. Today as guests on the panel, Brands and Hardwire, Kristian Rennert. His wife Becky is at home, taking care of things at home, which is this is the young producers panel, so people that are getting into business, sometimes we've got to make some of those decisions. So Kristian came without Becky, but Rennert Ranch, Kevin and Lydia Jan, again, first generation owners of their own ranch in South Carolina, and Brandon Cutrer and Keaton. Dodd and Rachel had to stay home too, so Keaton's the substitute. And so they're going to talk about their ranch as well. We've got 3 unique ranches here, different parts of the country. And I think it's important to look at the different, as we look at starting ranches and first time people want to get into ranches, you can do it about anywhere. So we're looking at 3 operations from 3 very unique parts of the country and 3 different breeds. And so with that, I'm going to let each one of them kind of give you a brief background of where they're at, what the environment's sort of like, introduce themselves and their families and their operations. And we'll take a little bit of time to do that, and then we'll move into kind of how they got started in this business. So Kristian, you're up first. You want to tell us about where you're at and what part of the country you're in, tell us about your family.
My name is Kristian Rennert with Rennert Ranch of Elm Creek, Nebraska. It's south central Nebraska. My wife Becky, she's listening on the phone and trying to be here in spirit, I guess. So she really wanted to be here, but we had a lot of things going on at home. We've got a 4-year-old son named Tate. He'll be 5 here in August, and he's certainly along for the ride with all of our craziness that we do day in and day out. We raise registered Charolais cattle. We do have some hybrid cattle that are Charolais Red Angus hybrid, doing some other things. My wife grew up in the Hereford breed, and so we do have a few Hereford cows as well. Probably plans with those are to let our son Tate participate in the junior Hereford program and also the junior Charolais program. So, been in business, I guess, real seriously here in the last 12 years or so. We just hosted our 8th annual wholesale with our neighbors and friends and partners. The partnership related, also Elm Creek. We live next to each other, and I'll get into some of that here in a little bit. But went to Colorado State University, graduated from there in 2000 with a degree in animal science. Had an opportunity to work for the Lindsay World magazine as a field representative from 2001 to about 2004. I worked 4 wholesale seasons there. An opportunity came available to be a regional manager for the American International Charolais Association. Went to work for them for, I believe, seven years. And after that amount of time of being on the road, traveling, looking at a suitcase and getting around all of North America, it was time to start settling some roots down. I wanted to start growing my own cattle operation. Was able to go to work for a feed company. It was originally the Lumix company, and then we got purchased by ADM and then Quality Liquid Feeds, and did a lot of joint ventures in there. But I was in the feed business for 10 years. Basically in Nebraska, Kansas, and some of the surrounding states. My wife, Becky, she grew up in Western Illinois, a small town called Jerseyville. Went to the University of went to Illinois, animal science student there. Her and I are the same age, just 4 months difference. Kind of have a lot of similarities as far as growing up and in a lot of the same circles of people. We didn't actually meet each other until very later on in life. I was working at a Simmental sale. My wife worked for TV auction for 11 years. She's now a Superior Livestock Auction as of January here. She also has the graphic arts and livestock photography and video business that she has. It's been called Brahman. it was called Brand Imaging, and now it's transitioned into Rennert marketing. I still work quite a few sales, working the ring and auctions, and do some sales consulting and a little bit of sale management and a few other things. I take pictures as well. Just kind of do a lot of different things to try to make everything go around. So, with that,
All right, we'll move on to Kevin and Lydia.
I'm gonna try my best to be brief because Kevin has already said that if there were three women up here that nobody else would get to talk, especially three women, so I'm by myself. So I'm gonna try to still be kind of brief so guys get a chance. My name is Lydia Yon, and I grew up on a commercial cow-calf operation in the upstate of South Carolina. Interestingly enough, I was only about 20 miles from Kevin, but I didn't meet Kevin until I was a sophomore at Clemson. I grew up doing all the 4-H and FFA stuff with, the Junior Shorthorn Association. And when I got to Clemson, I met up with Kevin at a block and bridal cookout, and, the rest is history. We've been together for 35 years, been married for 35 years, started dating in Clemson, and, I don't know how to share talking about the different stuff, but we straight out of Clemson, we got a job, managing a small Angus operation that already has the cattle, but they weren't the greatest Angus cattle. They didn't quite line up with what we wanted to do. We spent 7 years at that farm. They were, looking back, the best 7 years that we could have had as a beginning to starting our own operation someday, because we got to learn. It's almost like a 7-year internship where we got to make the decisions, we got to make mistakes, we got to figure out what we were doing, but it wasn't necessarily on our time. We were very conscientious of the owner, the farm's owner. We wanted to make money for him because we wanted to keep our job. But long story short, I don't ever use the word that we got fired because we didn't, but the owner had a lot of different business interests, and the cattle, was not something he wanted to continue doing year in, year out. So we were there 7 years, and we got called into, I like to say, we got called into the principal's office, and he told us that, in 6 months that we needed to plan to do something else, and that we needed to disperse or get rid of the 200 head of cattle that we had assembled. A lot of you probably know, Randy and Dr. Dan Daniel from Parties Ever Ranch in Georgia. We were fortunate enough to purchase a big herd of cattle from them. Basically, they dispersed, and we got their cattle to start with. Couldn't have gotten a better herd of cattle to start with. They were performance breeders. They aligned perfectly with what Kevin and I envisioned doing, because we wanted to sell bulls to the commercial cattle sector. So that was like the herd that we started with. We loved the cows. We kind of felt like we actually thought we were part of the guy that owned the farm, Stanley. We had Thanksgiving dinner with him, so it was really like a gut punch when he told us that we needed that news. So we didn't know what we were gonna do. We loved the cows. We didn't want to give up the cows. And as they would have it, it worked out that we were able to purchase 100 of those cattle and find another Angus breeder that wanted the other 100. This is kind of a cool story. To split them up, he said, "You make 2 lists, and then I'll pick which list I want." So, obviously that would be perfectly fair. Because we wouldn't know which half we were getting. So that's exactly what happened with the help of, the good Lord and the Farm Service Agency, and a lot of things that lined up through the grace of God for our family. So we were very blessed and fortunate to still be doing that, since 1996 on our own place. We'll get into more of how we got started later. But, We have 3 grandchildren that are in their 30s, and we have 6 grandchildren and a 7th on the way. It makes me feel kind of old to be sitting beside him, because his kids are the age of our grandkids. I didn't realize it was so, but anyway, and we're glad that all 3 of our adult children are involved in that farm, and actually our middle son's wife is involved as well, with a retail store and selling beef for us. So I'm very thankful that they chose to come back. We can talk more about that later too, but I'm gonna let Kevin tell you more about the farm.
Good thing she was brave, I'm not sure there's a lot to add other than we're about 200 miles just south of here. We farm in a little town called Ridge Springs, South Carolina, which is in the south central part of our state, right between Augusta, Georgia, and Columbia, South Carolina. And we don't have a 6 stock Angus operation. We also make beef hybrids, 7 Angus, and also smoked black. Have 2 annual bull and female sales each year, have a fall sale, spring sale, market about 450 bulls per year. Mainly to the commercial industry. We're a grass-based operation, and feel very thankful to be part of this industry. Thanks for having us.
All right, we'll turn it over to Brandon. Your turn, Brandon.
My name is Brandon Cutrer and part of BRC Ranch. I'm the B in BRC. My wife Rachel's, obviously this is not her sitting next to me today on the program. She's back home taking care of the girls, and she handles a lot of our business day to day in terms of financials and things like that, where Keaton and I kind of tend to the cattle. And so we had a chance to come up here and visit with you guys, and really looking forward to that. But currently as it sits, BRC Ranch, we started BRC Ranch in September of 2019. Now we had kind of been ranching and owning cattle before that, but officially we started BRC Ranch in September of 2019 and hit the ground running. Rachel and I met, we've been married a little over 14 years now, and we met through Brahmans. I don't think I even mentioned that. BRC Ranch, we raise purebred Brahmans. And so there's probably a lot of you guys out there, ooh, Brahmans. But anyways, we ranch about 30 miles from the Gulf Coast, about 50 miles southwest of Houston, Texas. And so our area is Brahman cattle are very important to our area. A lot of the very first ones came into this country and were developed right there in where we live in Wharton County. It's kind of the capital of Brahman throughout the world. And Rachel and I met at a Brahman show. I grew up in South Mississippi, and she comes from a generational family. She represents the 7th generation of ranchers there in Wharton County. And so when we got married, I just kind of moved over. But in terms of our operation, we've grown it into an operation that's pretty diversified in terms of our market. We market to domestic commercial cattlemen here along the Gulf Coast. We also market to kids selling show heifers, as well as seed stock producers here in the purebred seed stock guys and ladies here in the U.S. But a big portion of our business is also global seed stock production, where we are selling genetics in the form of semen, embryos, and live cattle all over the world. And our genetics, I tell people all the time, our genetics are seen on every single continent with the exception of Antarctica. And I think up until now, we're closing in on, or if might have already passed the threshold, selling over 50,000 units of semen worldwide. We're very passionate about breed improvement, also just beef production improvement overall. And that's where, I always love coming to these BIF things, because in here, I feel like Jack and the Beanstalk walking in the land of giants when I walk in here, because there's so many guys who I've looked up to and learn from and this type of stuff. But so we try to incorporate that as much as possible into our performance program and how we're raising our cattle. We're also vertically integrated in terms of we do offer a farm to table type store, and we also ship beef nationwide, and it's all 100% purebred Brahman beef. And so through our performance program, we were able to reach our confidence level when we were able to do that. but we have two daughters, Molly and Annie. Molly is 13 and Annie is 9. And Molly is extremely active in the ranch. Annie, she doesn't like the cattle as much, but she does know about the cattle, and she has an interest. She doesn't particularly like the showing part of it. But within our herd or within our ranch, there's some different personalities in terms of what they like. Rachel likes to show cattle. I'm a little more on the production and performance side. And as well as Keaton and some of the other guys, they're just kind of blending the different personalities. We found a spot where we can service everywhere in all those different marketing avenues that we have. And we can service all of those and continue to improve all of them at once. And I think that's where our strong point is finding that mesh and that blend, that no matter what the purpose is for, we're producing cattle that work for it.
Very good. I appreciate your all's background on where you're at and your breeds. So next, I'd like for you to tell us kind of what went into that decision to start out on your own. And I think the unique thing here is they all came from cattle backgrounds, but they didn't inherit a ranch, they didn't inherit the cattle and some of those things. And so that, you know, it takes a lot of grit, determination and faith and everything else to start out on your own. And I think it's going to be interesting and unique to kind of hear from each one of them, kind of what made that decision, what that plan looked like, and then, you know, how they went about doing it. And so we don't have to start in order. If somebody wants to go first, go ahead. But you know, jump in and kind of tell us about that, relive that time, what caused you to make the decision, and how you went about it when you first got started.
Well, as I was traveling the country as a fieldman working for grid associations, I had all the thoughts and dreams and aspirations of one day having my own production sale and having my own herd of cattle. And I got to see so many different places, and I took the good and the bad away from each one of them. I saw things that people were doing, and I was like, I will never do that. And there were other places I was like, God, I wish I could be like that. And so you took away the good and the bad, but that was always kind of my dreams, to have my own production sale and have my own herd of cattle to do that. And so, as I was driving up and down the road, I had lots of hours and thinking about all this stuff, and we just kind of started building. When I met my wife Becky, she brings in a lot of experience and dreams as well. And we just combined those things and just started building. It started with buying a few here, a few there, and we did what we could afford. We just did what we could afford. We didn't have endless budgets and didn't have big operating notes at that time. We were just kind of buying in, doing what we could afford, and started piecing together females. And then we started buying the best bulls that we could afford. And then we just started building on that, and as things grew and grew, you know, I needed some help. We didn't have the infrastructure, we didn't have the equipment, we didn't have all the resources that we needed. I started off with a 10-acre place. I grew up in Colorado, moved to Nebraska 19 years ago, and I bought a small little old farmhouse that has 10 acres, and that's what I started on. That's what most of it's based on. You know, since then, we've been able to go to FSA and get some very reasonable land payments. And we had a neighbor that was willing to sell a chunk of land to us. And so we got to go through FSA and do kind of private trade hands. We've also worked with our neighbor named Frank Meyer. He raised Charlotte cattle too. And one time he had 400, 500, 600 head of Charlotte cows, and during the last big cycle, he dispersed them all. It was just a good time to get out. He said, if you guys can start renting some of my stuff, you can use my chute, whatever. He saw what we were doing and he got the fever again, and he's like, well, why don't we just work together? You know, you'll own your cattle, we'll own our cattle, and I was still traveling and working during that time. He's like, I'll keep the electric fences hot, keep the cows fed, and keep the water on, and that type of thing. And so it worked out. We both started growing. So we built his herd, we built our herd, and being able to work with someone like that to give us an opportunity was very, very instrumental just on the infrastructure and, you know, some of the things that he's experienced. He's 65 this year. He's been through bad blizzards through the 80s, and he's been through situations where just knowing what to do when those blizzards or those weather events, or when to do this, when to do that, how to set this up, how to move those, you know, just some of that experience. He's been a great mentor for me. Now, as far as doing paperwork, he doesn't like to do paperwork. I don't blame him. But we do all the registrations and marketing for him, and so we do our wholesale together. So we're working together and using our own strengths and trying to just build off of that. That's been highly instrumental in us both building, and he lets me, since I kind of nerd out on all the genetics and the pedigrees and that type of thing, he lets me breed his cows. We'll sync up all his cows, and I get to choose the sires, and so it's also helping improve up some of our sires, and we're using some outside sires as well as local breeds and to try to build those numbers. That's working really, really well. So, you know, it started with a dream, I guess, Jim, and we've been trying to build ever since then, and we're trying to do, you know, when I moved to Nebraska, I moved everything I owned in a 18-foot Titan steel trailer. At that time, I don't think I owned a beer tanker. You know, I grew up with cattle, but it was kind of my stepdad's deal. We had a herd of Tarentaise cattle out in Colorado, and from the period of about 1997 to about 2005, we're doing that, doing pretty well, I guess. And, it was just time for me to go off and start my own career, start my own direction. So that's kind of how we started and built. It's been through using other people that are willing to work with us and allowing us to have some opportunity to basically is the dream that we had of doing that. We've had 8 bull sales and 3 female sales, and it's been a ride. It hasn't been easy, but it's been fun, and it's always challenging.
Yeah, Kristian, I think the takeaway for me in that one was, it's always nice to have a little help along the way. Everybody needs a little help from other people or mentors or other cattle producers. That sure makes things, better and easier. So I know I've heard Kevin and Lydia's before, but I think you guys are really gonna enjoy it. So, Kevin and Lydia, why don't you tell us about how you guys kind of got started, before you're gonna run cows and stuff like that?
Like this, we would share with Kristian and the other panels, but of you here in the room, that it does start with a dream. I feel very blessed to get up every day and get to that dream, and that's a big deal. I think should be all very grateful of how we got here. Everybody's got a story of how we got here, not just us up front, but each and every one of you have a story, and if you don't have one yet, it's coming, and you'll get to be a big part of that. But we had a dream. Me, not my parents, not farm. I grew up as grandson of a sharecropper. I spent every minute that I could on this small farm that was very small, and actually my life grandfather that was a sharecropper never owned an acre of land, although he farmed on his life. But I had a passion, and it was to never ever do anything else but farm. So I feel very blessed right now. Also feel very blessed that I met my best friend that shared that same dream. And I would not dare say that it's not possible if you don't have a spouse that shares the same dream, but it sure has made things easier to have a spouse that shared that dream, or at least to have a spouse that would be very supportive of your dream. So that again is a blessing. I think you gotta be very passionate about what you do. This business isn't for the faint of heart. This business isn't, I bet there's not a single person in this room that wants to be in this business to make a lot of money. We all need to make money, we need to be able to survive, but I don't think any of us have done it for that reason. But it's gotta be economical. Bring our children back to the farm, bring your children and grandchildren or young people back to the farm. For us to be sustainable, our industry does have to be economical. And that's a good thing about the times we're in. It's refreshing that our that all sectors of our industry are profitable. And that's the signs of the health industry. Jim mentioned our start, we could have never done it without people, and that's what I encourage, others to help those beginning farmers and ranchers. We say they're young, and that's what I'm sure today's main focus is young, but in our industry, we see, people that have a job in town and have worked their whole life. Their dream is to have a farm once they retire from that career. And that's been good for our industry. So it's not only young, but we have beginning producers and, that have that passion. But to us, it was both that were willing to help us. We have so many people that have helped us and so many mentors in this business. And I know no other business that the people are so good to each other. Agriculture is the very best, and I think that beef cattle producers are the best of the best, where we can come and share information, we can help people. We like Kristian, we moved those 100 cows to, we were able to get it up to say about 100 acres. We were able to, rent some more adjoining property from a family that had been in agriculture for many, many years. We moved those 100 cows, and we own one short bed 1984 pickup truck. But we were able to trade our labor to this family to manage their cows, to manage their forages. They had the equipment, we had the labor, the time. When we wear out one hay baler, they say, well, are you ready to buy a baler? And say, well, we think we can. And just over the last 30 years, they've just transitioned really a farm that has been in their family for 300 years to our family. We don't share the same last name. Nothing was ever a sweetheart deal. It's always at the fair market value. Many times to us, we thought it was too high. Looking back, it was very fair. So we're very appreciative of that family that after farming for 300 years, they saw that there was no one coming. So, by the grace of God, we were the family that made that transition. So I would encourage, we talked about earlier, one of the presentations were on farmland loss. I would encourage these farm families to, reach out and find those young people or whoever they may be. Lots of times they might not even share the same last name. Let's make this transition happen.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, Brandon, I think from Kevin's deal, not in addition to the help of other people, I guess the take home for me was, it's important to have a good partner who's willing to make the same sacrifices that you're willing to make in order to get there, right? Because it's not easy. And if it's, and you gotta have that partner that's involved, that's willing to make sacrifices too. And so, to get where you need to go. So that's really important. So, Brandon?
So everything they just said kind of leads into how we kind of got started as well. Rachel and I got married back in 2010. We owned 0 acres of land and 6 cows between us. And from that time, both of us just loved cattle and loved ranching and all that kind of stuff. And cattle and ranching is about the only thing I'm good at. If you put me in any other kind of industry, I got a feeling I'm going to fail miserably. But I'm very fortunate to have met Rachel, because she has a drive and a work ethic like no other. She's a rock star in everything that she does. And she also has a business called Ranch House Design. Some of you may know it as a livestock advertising agency that she started in her college dorm room. And so she grew that business, and that's, our businesses complement each other extremely well, from the cattle production side of it to the marketing side of it and everything in between. But everything we've done has required a lot of thought, a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat and tears. It hadn't always been easy, but it's been fun. Had not always fun, but most of the time fun. And but when we first got started out, like I said, we had those 0 acres of land, 6 cows. We lived in a little 1-bedroom house, and for the first year of our marriage, that's where we lived. And we did we started out with a budget, because we had a limited income with just trying to, I helped her granddad out there around the ranch, and he was very, very open arms to have me, be a part of that ranch, allow me to be a part of that ranch with him, but then she had her business, but supporting both of us. We had the Dave Ramsey envelope plan. You know, you guys know, ever heard of that? So each month we would go through and make up a budget. We had an envelope for groceries, an envelope for clothing, an envelope for this and that, and we'd go, and that's what we budgeted throughout the time. And at the end of the month, if any of those envelopes had anything left over, it would go into our savings. And so we would do that, and all that time, the first group of cows we bought, we'd saved up, and we bought a group of F1 Brahman Hereford cows, commercial cows, and that's kind of how we got started, other than that base of 6. And throughout the years, we would go and we were able to lease some land and grow that way. We still own no land or anything like that, but we're able to lease some land and buy little groups of cows here and there. So we started out with a group of crossbred cows and did very well with those. And the opportunity came to sell those and buy a group of purebred cows. And at each time we grew, and it was a bigger deal each and every time, and we tried to grow and grow, have each deal grow upon itself. And so the second group of cows that we bought came from one of the lower end, a lower end group of cows from one of the divisions at J.D. Hudgens Ranch. And we were able to kind of pick and choose through those cows. And then as time went on, we were able to buy some other herds and add different genetics. And kind of our plan was to buy out herds of cattle from older established herds and bring those into our program and sort through the cows that we liked, kind of market through the rest, to put them into a F1 producing program and build that way. So the nucleus herd that we were building was built on function, quality, production, and then the other cattle that we had to buy to kind of make the deal work to get the good ones, we would kind of market through it over time, and we basically built up to the cow herd where we are now. Now, come September of 2019, like I said, Rachel's grandfather was very gracious and very good to us. And in fact, the first 9 years of our marriage, he let us operate under the umbrella of his ranch. And that's kind of how we marketed those cattle. And, but the whole time we're steadily building our herd, we're steadily building our land holdings. And we reached a point, just being perfectly transparent, in his operation, he was a sole proprietor with no succession. And wonderful man, absolutely a great mentor to us, and we thank the Lord every day for him and helping us. But it came to a point with some other family members, and there was a slide Mr. Ferguson had up there earlier that showed some of the things that could cause some tensions in the family or whatever. And we'd reached a point where Rachel and I got to we were presented the opportunity for a partnership, and because of what we had built with our land and our cattle, we didn't see that the partnership would really benefit us much. So instead of dividing up a so-called pie, we decided to go build our own pie. And so in September of 2019, one day we were part of one thing, the next day we had started BRC Ranch, and we had a brand, a name, and Rachel went to work on the website and marketing. And I've been very fortunate because she's a genius at marketing, and she works hard at everything, handles all of our financials. But we were able to make a plan, work toward a goal, and just really, really do it. We have a great team of people that we've assembled over the years. If we have any shortcomings ourselves, we find somebody that's good at it and try to put them into a place of power where they can operate and flourish. And I think that between the work ethic, goals and planning and budgeting, and the people that we surrounded ourselves with has led to our success as we know it as BRC Ranch.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Brandon. So again, I think it kind of gets into nothing's going to happen fast, right? You start with a plan, you build it, and you build it, and it just takes time, and it takes dedication. And, I think that was kind of a takeaway there. And one other thing I want to get into next that Brandon said, and I want to ask each one of them to kind of tell a little bit about their operation. But, I think everyone's sort of diversified a little bit in their operation, and income's coming from different areas. And that's probably helps to some of their success, and help them finance, some of the other sides of their businesses. So kind of tell us a little bit about, as we go through, about your operation. Maybe, why you decided on the breed. I think we probably know that with a lot of you, but the way you kind of started, and then get into your breeding philosophies and the type of cattle you would want to raise and commercial custody. But tell us a little bit about your ranch, your operation, and if you're into any other, things besides cattle. And by the way, if you go to branchbarbedwire.com, it's designed by Ranch House Designs. So, do a little plug there. Rachel does a fantastic job.
About our operation, we live in an area that we're very lucky to have water, feed resources, and there's pasture, and there's a lot of feed yards. Nebraska's nickname is the feed state. We've got packing plants, we've got the feed yard, we've got the cow calf. We're very well located in an area that is good and strong with beef cattle. And thankfully, that's a big part of Nebraska's economy, and we've got governors and leaders in our state that appreciate that. So, our main focus is mainly for the commercial beef producer. The reason I chose Charlotte and to develop a herd and start a business is when I was working for the association, I just saw how good the cattle were. And I just really, really appreciated them. I saw where they fit into the cow-calf business and how they could work in the feed yards and all the benefits they can bring for the beef industry. And so we're also in an area where we don't have a Charlotte breeder on just every corner. We were kind of located halfway between two pretty good sized breeders, and we got Sure Tops to the west, which they sell their bulls about 90 miles southwest of us. We had Saunders to the northeast of us, and they were 2 hours northeast of us. And then there were some other other operations around, but there was an opening, there was an opportunity there that we saw. And there were a few other breeders around, but nobody that was really just making the move. And so we found that to be an opportunity. So we took it. In developing and buying cows in different places, we started kind of breeding on them, and some of those females started to rise up, and we started concentrating and keeping more of those daughters. And then we create some dams of distinction, and then we start flushing a couple of those. We do quite a bit of ET work, and we're utilizing some cooperators now to put embryos in other places and then bring the calves home in the fall, either market them or retain females in our operation. We've been relatively lucky to have, I guess I had a lot of contacts in the purebred business, so we've been able to sell a few purebred bulls, and that's always fun, and I always enjoy that. We're selling bulls from Florida, Alberta, Canada. Most of the bulls we'll have about 100 in bull sale every year. Most of the bulls stay within a 100-mile radius of us, just within an hour or two, and that's good that we've got that kind of following. But we do sell bulls from Texas to Montana, North Dakota to Oklahoma, and east to west. And the female side of our sales have been very good. One of the hardest things, I think, for the Charlotte business is not everybody wants a white female for their commercial operation. And so I always took that as a challenge. Or, a lot of breeders said, well, you can't sell a lot of open Charlotte heifer calves. I took that as a challenge, and I wanted to prove it wrong and show that we can actually sell open yearly or open weaned Charlotte heifer calves for replacements. So kind of took that on as a challenge. And I guess when I get my head stuck on something, then that's, watch out as I get in and get after it. So, yes, a lot of questions.
So I know you talked about it, a little bit earlier about, you know, you're sort of diversified. So Becky has some, she works for Superior and just some of those talk about, you know, how that ties in into your operation to be successful.
Yes, I left the feed business in a couple of years ago, about, I think we're going on year 3, and so Becky has her business, and she's basically our sole provider. If you guys are making money, let me know how to do that, so that'd be great, I'd love some cash flow, but, not just joking, but, you know, Becky with her job with Superior, she videos cattle, she broadcasts purebred sales, she does board sales, other species. We need that income just to support our family, and, you know, with that, there's a lot of give and take as she travels, and a lot of times I'll be at home counting cows, and I still have Tate. You know, he's 4 years old, thank God his sport goes along with things as well as he does, he's been unbelievable as far as all the things we've asked him to do, just sit in the pickup for a little bit longer, you know, just behave. And he's actually a really good kid, we're very lucky for that, but, you know, Becky with her graphic arts business, much like Brandon and Rachel, she's got a great marketing background, so she gets to travel and go to a lot of these sales too, to see the things that she likes, and I've seen things I like, and things we don't like, and we talk about that a lot. Of course, we're both strong-willed individuals, that sometimes works in our favor, and sometimes works against us, but, you know, it's just trying to put lots of ideas into motion. As far as breeding cows and making a living at this, so.
Good. Lydia?
I'm gonna play off of one thing that he said, that I picked up on that very much apply to us and probably most of you in the room. He said he looked at something as being an issue of challenge. Well, we're pretty hard-headed folks in the beef industry. And that reminded me of when we first decided we were going to go out on our own. I was on a Farm Bureau panel, and we were being interviewed by the media about being young farmers, and the guy that went before me didn't know me, and Kevin didn't know that we were starting on our own, and he made the comment to the girl that was interviewing him, well, you can't go into any farming operation unless you're multi-generational and expect to make it, because you're not going to. And I heard right up, and I was like, okay, Kevin, did you hear what he just said? Did you hear him? So of course I didn't like confront him because he's entitled to his opinion. But I kind of looked at that day as a challenge to my brain. Who's gonna tell us what we can and can't do, what we're capable of doing and not doing? So it has played to our benefit that we were hard-headed enough to do what a lot of people wouldn't have done, because we didn't know any better, because we were too young and dumb to know at that time that we weren't supposed to be able to do that. But anyway, sorry I got off on a little rabbit trail as I was gonna do, but he asked about the breed. I think the main point is what Kevin mentioned, the word being passionate about it. There's good cattle in every single breed. I don't care what breed you have. You need to love the cattle that you have and be passionate about them. I grew up showing shorthorns. Shorthorn bulls are not very easy to sell in the Southeast. I don't know about other parts of the country, but they're not. And if we expected to make a living, we weren't going to do it selling shorthorn bulls to commercial cattlemen. So we love Angus cattle. They do a lot of things right for us in our environment and in our operation. We have a good market for them. Our commercial customers have a good market for their calves. And Jim mentioned diversity. The certifying as beef program has been good to us as producers. We recently have ramped up our efforts to sell freezer beef and beef out of our store. I know you mentioned that they ship it all over the country. We don't do that yet, but we had the opportunity about 5 years ago to become pecan farmers as well. Our 90-something-year-old neighbor, I'm not sure that he has a succession plan, maybe he did, but he broke his hip. He was a sole operator of pecan with about 200 acres of trees. His daughter called us and said, hey, are you guys interested in buying that pecan business? And I said, I don't know, when does he want to sell it? We talked about it. She said, well, the nuts are on the ground, Daddy's broke his hip, and none of us know how to harvest them. So now, and I said, we're not gonna have a bull sale. I don't think we can do this. So we have one of those infamous family meetings. And I lost and the other 4 people in the room won, so we're in the pecan business now. And it's been a great thing because it was an opportunity to diversify, and I'm not really involved in the pecan part of it. One of our youngest son and our middle son do the, production of the nuts, and one of our son's wives runs the retail store and has ramped up the efforts to sell meat. Most of you that do that probably saw a real spike during COVID of people having a lot of interest in locally raised beef because they couldn't get beef in the store. So that presented us with an opportunity, and we have tried to capitalize on that opportunity. I'd much rather be on the production end, raising live bulls and selling live cattle. But my daughter-in-law's a foodie, and she loves the meat end of it and learning about how to sell it from a nutritional and food and health standpoint. So it's a perfect situation in our family to provide, a lot of diversity and opportunity to do some different things and look at a different side of the business than just what we see breeding bulls.
Yeah, quickly on the diversity thing, diversity, as we all know, it's good for income, economics. Not all eggs are in one basket, but Lydia did hit on it. Diversity within a family or within a crew is also important. You know, we all don't have the same interests. And, as dads or moms or granddads, grandmoms, we can't expect our family, our crew to want to do things exactly like we do them, or want to do the same things that we do. We've seen it in our family. We've got one son that is good as any on our crew of working cattle, but he would rather be growing grass, growing cattle, or growing crops, or growing pecans. So he came out of school and we said, here, this is yours to manage. We didn't have time, we didn't have the expertise. So I think it's our daughter-in-law from raised in New England. It's a food nutrition major. That's the perfect fit for her to run retail stores. So I think it's good economically, but it's also good to diversify interests and maybe attract back these young people and to give them a place to fit and to give them some big responsibility.
Well, I can tell you one thing, I have not had their beef, but I have had the pecans, and they are awesome. And so, Brandon and I don't know if Keaton wants to share any of what the range looks like and stuff like that, but we'll let you guys jump right into it.
Like I said earlier, if we're deficient in one area around our operation, we try to find people who excel in those areas, and can bring on and make additions to the team. And Keaton is our director of genetics and performance programs, which is a passion of mine, but he provides a lot of help and an earpiece for me to bounce ideas off of. And I'm gonna kind of kick it over to him a second. He can kind of describe some of the different aspects and the different arms of our program and the diversification within that.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. Well, I'm pretty positive Rachel sitting here to say with Brandon that we got to talking too long, and I think we would both be remiss if we didn't say that we wouldn't be here without the drive and business savvy and intelligence of Rachel. So definitely not filling her shoes, but just kind of trying to tack on as we go. As far as the things we do at BRC, pretty diverse kind of program as Brandon talked about. And we talked earlier that we've got to show effort market. We try to service the Gulf Coast with productive herd bulls. And we've also got a really, really strong international market. And so to say that the cattle that fit in each one of those entities looks exactly the same, I would say that they don't necessarily look the same, but a few things that we make sure we maintain: foot quality, udder quality, and fertility at the baseline. So if those cattle can at least meet the criteria as far as making a productive, kind of impactful cow in our program, whether she's meant to generate kind of high sellers on the show end or make those kind of performance bulls that our customers demand, then we don't keep them around. And so we're kind of good sounding boards for each other as we talk about ideas. We sat around at dinner discussing what we thought was the next step, not only in our program, but just in Brahman in general. But all in all, I'd say 50% of our business stays domestic and another 50% of kind of our business leaves the country. And so, as far as staying diverse, there could be 4 or 5 different languages spoken on our ranch in a day, not by me or Brandon. We stick to one, and it's kind of broken Southern talk, but we could have 4 or 5 different languages. We could have a bus of people show up from Thailand, and then follow up with a group from Australia and lead in with a group from Latin America. And so each one of those countries has maybe a specific ideal that they have in mind. And so I guess when it comes down to our breeding program, we try to stay as balanced as possible, with a heavy emphasis on function traits like foot quality, moderation, fleshing ability, reproductive efficiency. But I don't know, Brandon, I guess you probably add on some things, but I would say balance is kind of the biggest basis of our breeding program.
Yeah, we kind of just, make sure we have all the basics down first before we start focusing on those different areas and categories. 'Cause no matter what market you're going to, they're also gonna require the same things on a basic functional level. And then when you get into show cattle or different countries, you can get into frame size debates or different traits like that. So it's cool that we get to do and work with so many different people, and then you never know who's gonna walk through the door.
Very good, and emphasis on genetics, like, go with those guys, they've developed their own genetic evaluation and some of that too, to help measure some of those traits, so that's really cool. So, as we start looking towards, dinner time here, and sort of wrap things up, I'll kind of ask each of you to a couple questions. That, first of all, I mean, where do you see in your operation in the future? You see change happening, what do you address, or what do you think are gonna be challenges? And then the second part of it, what advice, if there's someone listening, or if there's someone in the audience today, what advice would you give them if they were gonna start out on their own today? And if anybody wants to jump in first, it's entirely up to you.
Well, looking forward at Rennert Ranch, I think we're really, we've been building on the females and the female base of what we have. They're really starting to come together, and we've seen the gelling of things, and every calf crop just gets better and better, and our female base gets better as we put more selection pressure, and we're probably focusing on more of the productive cow families. Looking at our set of heifers that we just bred this spring, and our first calvers that have calves aside now, I mean, the future looks really good. A lot of the cows we built our program on are now 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. And with this cattle market, we're gonna be doing a kind of a retirement of some of those females that we started with. But since we've focused on certain cow families and those cornerstones of what built our program, some of the ET work that we're doing to help mass produce those, we're building a bigger, stronger, more complete herd, and that's gonna be the future. And so I'm really, really excited about that. Everybody has different goals and customers with, your breeding programs in mind. We're still committed to the commercial cattlemen and trying to raise performance-oriented bulls. We've been lucky to work with Dodd Feed Yard. They develop our bulls. We've used some heifer development places to help just kind of free up some space, and a lot of times they have better equipment. They can do it cheaper than we can. If you come to our place, our facilities are lagging way behind. We've grown the cow herd, but we don't have the facilities. We're still running old pickups. I still have a tractor without a cab. I mean, we put everything into our cow herd. And if some of you young people that are coming into this, you're gonna have to sacrifice things. We don't have as nice a house. I don't have as big a TV as I'd like. I don't have as little pickup as I'd like. We're cutting corners in some places, but we're putting all of our emphasis and focus on building our factory. And I think that's the main thing that we've done is help carry us. Now, we've got to do some catch up, and as things change, we're gonna have to build some of our own calving facilities, maybe our own sale facility, maybe we need some other portable corrals, a better chute. We need some of those things. And so we have big goals, and it's hard to pay for the land, it's hard to pay for the cattle, it's hard to pay for the equipment all in one whack. So we're kind of trying to just bite off, one bite at a time. That's a big elephant that we're trying to tackle, but at the same time, we're trying to eat that elephant one bite at a time. So, you know, have some plans, and as you come along, things change. I mean, there's fires, there's floods, tornadoes, there's lightning strikes, there's things that you never, ever account for. That's what makes this business so hard and challenging, is no matter what you do, you use the best vaccines, you use the best feed, the best mineral, the best genetics, you can do all those things, and there's things that are out of our control that you just have to deal with. That's the hard part, but, have some grit, have some, dreams, have a lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, I think we've probably all seen that, all of us up here, and most of you out there. It's been fun talking to the lobbyists, some of these people I'm getting a chance to meet here today, over the next couple of days, and this is pretty inspirational group. The conversations you have at BIF are a little different than you have in other places, and that's what's so cool about this place, and it's just been awesome to be here, and so, with that, that's one you get.
I'll take the advice and let Kevin be the visionary. He's good at that. If we were to give some advice to young folks that are interested in going and starting out their own farming operation, I guess the advice that Kevin and I would both tend to agree on is to go get your hands dirty and work in that industry, whatever that might be. Our kids had a rule, and I know a lot of folks have the same rule. When you graduated high school, you had to leave for 4 years. And college could count, but you couldn't come home and work for mom and daddy during the summer. And probably one of the things that has helped our operation and our children make the decision to come back to our operation, we didn't pressure them at all, but they were all fortunate enough to have internships every summer at family, not just livestock operations. We had the son that does the crop farming and went and did some worked on potato zone by family one summer. Our middle son spent a summer in Montana at Sixes, and he spent a summer in Florida at a Brahman operation for cattle company. He also spent a summer at Triangle HV yard in Kansas. He would never have those opportunities had he not been willing to take up roots to go during the summer and do something that was uncomfortable. He would send in his pictures from Montana, winter storm warnings, and said on Memorial Day, saying, if I break my arm, do you think they'll let me come home? This is too cold, I'm going somewhere south next year, and you didn't go get for stuff, you know, you gotta get your feet wet, you gotta do it, you gotta get your hands dirty. And internships, especially if you're in college, or high school, would be something that I would think are just invaluable. We've had a lot of interns that we posted at our place that have gone on and done bigger and better things than we could have ever dreamed of doing ourselves. A lot of them are very, very successful in the industry now, and it's been good for us to learn from them too. So I think that's getting experience would be the key, and again, being adaptable and flexible, and being willing to sacrifice if you need to. Don't feel bad. Our whole family our family of 5 lived in a house with 1 bathroom until our middle son came home from his junior year of college, and we moved during the summer and didn't tell him. He came home and said, "Where are y'all?" No kidding. And we said, "Well, you're gonna be gone anyway. You don't have a bedroom anymore." So anyway, I'll pass it to Kevin.
We moved from a house with 1 bathroom to a 150-year-old house with 2 bathrooms.
See you, Becky.
It's, I think as beef producers, we need to just reflect a little bit, and maybe even celebrate or congratulate ourselves. I think back when Lydia and I went on our own in 1996, think back where we were as an industry. 1 in 4 states, not very good. Our industry was running on about 2 cylinders. Very few segments were profitable in our entire industry. cow-calf segment had been profitable for a number of years. In fact, what's turned that around? It's been folks in this room, across the country, it's been the mentors and the stalwarts that have come before us that have done science-based progress. We have made cattle better. We've made cattle more functional. We've made cattle taste better, be more acceptable to our consumer. Today, beef demand is as good as it's been in the past 30 years. We're in a good seat. Does that mean that we can be complacent? Absolutely not. We gotta charge on. I do think it's time to reflect back and celebrate that the BIF has had a huge impact in this industry. So let's not be complacent one bit. Let's charge on. And I think it is a good time to celebrate that segments are profitable. This is a great industry. People love our product. Whether we want to admit it or not, people kind of even like us. They trust us, cattle producers. Sure, there's challenges ahead. There's talk of climate change. We can't deny it. We've got to face it head on. There's problems with labor. There's challenges with land use. But as an industry, I think we can come together and have another good run at this thing. So thank you for being here. And thank you for letting us do part of it.
Perfect. Well, I was gonna lead off, before Brandon talked, he wanted me to just kind of talk about future BRC and where we see things going. I've had the fortune of pretty much being involved in BRC since the inception of the concept of BRC and seen that program grow. We've pretty much doubled in size from the start. And that's kind of our plan as we go forward. We continue trying to develop more land, trying to add some service places, and then our cooperator program has kind of been a big focus moving forward. We've got a select group of customers that we found have done a good job procuring cows, kind of running and managing their own programs, and then we supply them with genetics, and in turn, those cattle end up coming back kind of through our system and get marketed under the BRC umbrella. And so, as we continue to try to expand our land holdings, we also try to just be a little more efficient with where we put our energy. And so, we can't be everywhere at one time. We can't own all of the Gulf Coast. And so if we can get those cooperator herds kind of on the same page that we're at, it's gotten to the point now at BRC where our cooperator herds are turning out cattle that just is competitive in the marketplace as the cattle that we've got. And we're very lucky that we're able to market those genetics kind of under the BRC umbrella. And so the future for us is we continue to try to grow and expand and bring more people into the program. And just continue to advocate for Brahman.
So I tossed that future part of the question over to Keaton. And, cause we have such shared goals, but if I had to give some advice or anything like that. And, well, just to admit, looking around this room here, there's a lot more younger people in this room than I expected to be in here. So that's very refreshing. And I want you to know, starting out the way we did, if you have any aspirations or plans in this industry, anything and everything is absolutely possible with 4 ingredients. And I give the same little 4 ingredients. We have a little summer show camp for some kids during the summer. And it starts out with here in your head, and I make them point it out. Here in the, you got to develop a plan, have a budget, and have goals to work toward. You have to have the passion and drive in your heart to keep you going. And then I also give them the point at their bicep and their muscle. And that's that you have to be willing to put in the work. And that's a big part of it. That's what drives us and keeps us going. But the last portion of that ingredient, whatever deficiencies you might have in any one of those areas, whether it's intellectual or your drive or your passion or your work ethic, if you put your focus in the Lord, He can mesh it all together and make anything possible. But I would like to say, just getting started, things to focus on would be cash flow, budgets. There's going to be sacrifices. I learned to love pimento and cheese sandwiches, and we've got some pretty shoddy equipment running around, you know. So it's we don't always have the newest and the best. Just like you guys do, we put everything into our cow and try to make the best product we possibly can. Sometimes we do so in some pretty primitive settings. And so just maintaining our focus, producing a good product's what we want to do. And one thing I failed to mention earlier, as we were growing and building, we were taking a lot of risk, taking on a lot of financial risk in terms of loan, and financing and things like that. But anytime Rachel wanted me to say this, that anytime we had a loan out, whether it's a cattle loan or a land loan, we never had a cow loan at the same time we had land. So we would kind of grow in stages. We buy some cattle, get those set a goal of when we were gonna pay off those cattle. And most of the time, we paid those cattle off earlier than expected. And we were able to move on to the next growth period of loans, and things like that. So, we never had one of those at the same time. We did cattle, then maybe land, cattle, and then land. And I talked about earlier when we started out with 0 acres and 6 cows. I know there's a rule in Texas, you never ask anybody how much land they have or how much cattle they have, but for the purpose of this, I'll disclose that. From that 0 acres of land, we've built up to over 800 acres of land. The majority of that we own now, 140 of that we lease. But we're always looking for more. And in terms of cattle, from those 6 head and the different deals that we have done over the years, we're up to about, I think the last estimate was a little closer to 400 head. And like I said, still looking to grow, still looking to perform. We've been very fortunate to have exceptional demand for our cattle through marketing, hard work, and trying to produce a quality product that people want around the world. And just to reiterate, anybody sitting in this room that has any kind of goals or plans in this industry, there's room for everybody, and it can absolutely be done.
Thank you, guys, and as we start to wrap up here, I want to thank BIF for taking a chance and having the vision to make this sort of a live recording of Brandon's barbed wire. We will, if everything works out right, we will try to air this when I get home and get it to the editor. And so if you have anybody that missed it or want to listen, we can you can tune into Brandon's barbed wire and do that. And as we close, I just want everybody to kind of, what we usually do is if somebody listening or if somebody wanted to find out more information about your operation, how would they go about doing that?
For Rennert Ranch, you can go to our webpage, rennertranch.com. We also have a Facebook page, Rennert Ranch Charlotte. Feel free to give me a call, give us a call. We love to visit. We love talking about cattle. I'm always open for ideas. So if any of you well-seasoned people that have a lot of experience have anything to share, we'd love to hear that. That's always insightful. Or if you're a young person and you have questions and just want to bounce some ideas off or get some ideas. I mean, me and my wife both worked in the industry. She came up, she worked for Arkansas Cattlemen. She was the marketing manager at Freebird for a while, started her own business. You know, I came through the Breed Association work and feed business. And, you know, there's different ways to go about it. There's no one perfect answer, but feel free to reach out to us. We sure like to talk to people. We like talking about cattle and about what we're passionate about.
You can find us at beyondfamilyfarms.com, and also very active on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. Our daughter handles all that. You can also find our pecan business at the Nut House and Country Market, and we also have a Yon Angus beef page, so you can pretty much Google any of those things and contact us from that.
We're on most, or I don't even know if we're on most, but we're on several social media avenues. Facebook, BR Cutrer Brahman Ranch, I believe that's what it is.
brcranch.com.
There you go. And then my 2 daughters also have a TikTok that they do for the ranch for us. And so that's a fun way to incorporate them into the operation. But brcranch.com, BrahmanCountryBeef.com, and also BrahmanCountryGenetics.com.
All right, well, thanks everybody, and thanks for listening to Brandon's barbed wire, and God bless, and let's give everyone a round of applause.